We are live. Thank gosh we're alive. We're alive and we're live. Well, that's great. Hi, everyone. Geez. We're alive and my computer's falling. The sky is falling. Hi, Peg. How are you? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Happy 2022. Nancy, good morning. Lynn and Dave, happy new year. And year. Lynn, yes, year. Joanne, good morning. Nice to see you. Carolyn, good morning. Stevie, hi. Pat, hello. Michael and Chachi, happy new year. Wow. Um, I'm just visualizing you all because it's so weird that I don't see you, but I see you. I don't see you, but I see you. So hi, here we are. Anything in particular that is bothering you? And I'd like to know about that from both a physical perspective, meaning in your body, and then also in a mental, emotional perspective. So if anyone would like to share here how they're feeling in their physical body or in their mind, I'd love to hear that. Because this class, having the word stress in it, there's always that part where I start to go a little deeper in my thinking of the wisdom that's in this practice and what I could share with you on that level. So if anybody would like to share anything, I will tell you that, I work privately with people as well as teaching group classes. And then I also teach groups. And in my private work with people, I'm able to hear a lot more about what's going on in their bodies or their minds. And especially then I start to look at the group aspect of that. So I start to hear like, wow, there's a lot of shoulder issues or there's a lot of upper back and neck issues. I know that there's a lot of upper body stuff going on for a lot of people. And then I would imagine that on a mental emotional layer, there's a lot of fear and hopelessness of being able to live fully again, because we've been, so for 2 years, almost 2 years, we've really been cautious. And right now what's happening is making us even more like, okay, don't go here, don't go there, don't do this, don't do that. So I would imagine there's a little bit of an oppression and heaviness for a lot out there when it comes to that layer. Yes, Lynn, I do privates on Zoom. My biggest thing I've been doing, though, is working privately with people from a health coaching perspective. So I'm a health coach and a yoga therapist, and I run functional labs. I look at stool and blood. I look at blood for food sensitivities. I look at stool to look for many things: dysbiosis, opportunistic overgrowth, parasites. Find a lot of great healing opportunity when I do stool cultures. And then I do saliva and urine, which looks at hormones, and I do a hair analysis for minerals. And so it's on Zoom. And I probably could, I guess, see people that are local to me to do that as well. But yeah, so lots more of that, a lot more running functional labs and uncovering issues deep inside from a functional perspective. So especially digestive issues, really, really huge, and food sensitivities. So anyway, that is what I do. So that's that internal stress that leads to illness, looking from a physiological biochemical perspective with functional labs. Chachi. Oh gosh. Yes, that is so true. Well, I've had a house full. I'm having a party today for 15 people. I'm not even ready. And I've got all my kids here. I've been pushed into smaller and smaller spaces in my world. I can't be in my normal office. I can't be out here. I can't be here. It's like, bam, here I am. But still always trying to find, okay, this is temporary and eventually I'll have things back. But I am starting, Lynn, I want to tell you, because I know you've asked about this. I'm starting a detox on January 11th. And it's with the group that I've done 2 years already. I've done this in a row. I love it. It's amazing. It's amazing 26-day self-care. So if you want to know more about that, contact me. My website, Debbie@DebbieRobinson.com, or my email, Debbie, DEBI, @DebbieRobinson.com. And we'll talk about that. Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here. All right. So let's start moving our physical body. Let's start grounding our mental energy. All right, I'm going to go back here so that I can talk about that. All right. Yoga is a practice for our body and our mind. And so you've shown up today with a mat, maybe not, with some props. Get a block if you have a block. We are going to use this quite a bit today. So if you don't have a block, get a rolled up towel, like a bath towel, a strap, and a blanket. And so here we are. We showed up today for a practice. And the practice of yoga is not just about the physical body, although that's how a lot of us come to it. And there's definitely an emphasis on that. And especially because for preventative, we want to either stay mobile and limber, and that's a big one. I'm going to say that the maintenance of what we live in is very, very important, because the alternative to that is a lot of pain and suffering in the physical body, which really goes to the mind. So this is a mind-body practice. We're grounding our mental energy. We are clearing off the cobwebs inside our body and inside our mind. And even in our lungs, we're going to do that as well. So I'd like to start today with a breath. And because we're going to begin with a breath, we're going to start in a seated position. And the seated position is going to be what's the best for you. So a nice way to keep your joints mobile forever in a functional sense is to keep your hips really mobile so your hips can bend, and your knees mobile so they can bend. And for some of you, you may have lost some of that range of motion, especially in the knees. So don't force anything, and don't be sad if you no longer have something, all right? So if you can still bend your knees and hips, you could sit on the block in a supported Vajrasana hero's pose. You could also put the block in between your tushy and the back of your heels. It's a little bit higher. And what this does is put your spine in a beautiful position. When you sit in a hero's posture, it really helps to align the spine, which is such a goal of the physical practice of yoga, where so much attention paid to the spine, which is great because that's where the transmission of everything is, coming off the brain, down the spinal column, branching off to the hands, branching off to the feet. So important. And then the stress of life and pressure can really end up in that low back area. So the Vajrasana, the supported Vajrasana, you could also roll up your blanket and put your blanket here. And this is what kind of helps some of you that have knees that kind of bend, but don't like to bend, but they kind of do. So you're able to get a little bit of something, putting like things underneath. And then for those of you that there's just not an opportunity for that to happen, you could come into an elevation. So sit on a block or sit on a blanket and come into either a Sukhasana or come into a Baddha Konasana. So this here, when the kneecaps are going out to the side, it gives a little bit of space in the hip joint. So for some of you, that may be preferred. So please find a position to be in. We're going to do something, we're going to do a little bit of an energetic breath to help burn away 2021. Right, we're going to do a heated breath to it's called skull shining or Kapalabhati in Sanskrit. And it's there's a lot of things that it's for. When I was in India, we did this in between sessions, like after we would take a break, when we would come back, we would do this. We're going to do 108, 3 times 36. We're going to do 3 different hand positions. And I'll show you the hand positions first, and then I'll show you the breath so that you could really be aware of that breath before we begin. And I want to do this because there's a lot of lung stuff going out. This is the winter. It's a really good time to have clearance in our lungs, and it's working the diaphragm muscle. So which is a primary breathing muscle. So the hand positions are this. You take your hands, you clasp your hands, and you take your hands in front of you like this. This is position 1. This is position 2, and this is position 3. Whatever you can get in your body. So 1, 2, 3, 36, 36, 36. Okay, and then that just helps to open up the lungs and bring the breath from in different sections of the lungs. The lowest part of your ribs is where the diaphragm is. This is your primary breather, and it's like a parachute that moves down, or like a plunger. It draws down, it moves down, sucks in the breath, and then as it recoils back up to neutral, it presses the cavity, the volume of the lungs changes, or the area where the lungs are, and it presses the breath out. So inhaling and exhaling. The inhale is the voluntary aspect and the muscular aspect of the diaphragm. We inhale and the muscle moves down, and then the exhale is really a passive movement. So what we do in the practice of yoga is we actually take control of the passive part of the breath. And this is one that we're going to actually control the diaphragm in the passive area, in the exhale. So I want you to begin right now. I want you to think about this part of your body. I want you to push your body in and up to your lungs. And close your mouth, and you're going to make a sound like a dog that's been running a lot, that's like, the speed at which you do your panting or your exhalation has to be what's appropriate for you. So know who you are, what's going on in your mind and body, and what's appropriate for you. So with the eyes open, I'd like you to practice this mouth closed. And I don't know if you can really see, but it's, so this part of my body, there's an action. You're pushing in and up, in and up, in and up. You'll feel your belly lift. You'll feel the belly moving back. You'll feel the muscular action. So we're beginning today with breath. We're beginning today with some core work. We're beginning in this powerful controlling place in our body so that we could keep our lungs nice and healthy, keep our body nice and healthy, ground our mental energy, and at the same time give us energy, because this can give us a little bit of, whew. Okay, so you're going to take your hands, bring your hands here. We're going to do 30. I'm going to have you do it on your own count. My breath will be like this. But for some of you, it may be, because it depends on whether maybe you're going to feel lightheaded or anything. Now take your nostrils and go. So hold one nostril and clear that pathway. And then go to the other side. You know, yoga is about unblocking your channels in your body. And so this is an example of how we're unblocking. And in this case, lots of stuff here. And lots of stuff being the pathway of breath, which is the main thing we need to live. We can live without food and water for maybe even up to 3 weeks, they say. But we cannot live without breath for more than minutes. And the brain cannot go without oxygen for 10 minutes. All right. So super important part of you, starting off right here, take your hands. Take your hands away from you so the palms are away from you, the arms are straight. Close your eyes, close your mouth. Bring your awareness to your lower ribs, to your diaphragm. Start to just push your belly back. So take your entire abdominal wall and push it back and up, back and up, back and up, back and up. It's kind of like you let your tummy hang, and then you activate it and pull it up. Let it hang, activate. So it's in and up, in and up, in and up. Whatever pace is appropriate for you. We're going to do 36, then you're going to move to 36, then you're going to move to 36. You're going to count your count. Let's prepare. Take a big, big, big exhale. A big inhale. And begin. When you finish, close your eyes, put your hands on your thighs, let your elbows be underneath your shoulders, and just notice what you notice in your body. Notice the heart rate accelerated. Pay attention to the ability to breathe now, the depth at which you can breathe. Bring your awareness to your eyes. Take your hands, rub your hands together. Feel the heat generating inside your hands. Cover your eyes. And then gently allow your eyes to blink themselves open. And then go ahead and bring your hands down. If you think about a stream of water, the parts of the stream where there's rocks and the water stagnates and you see twigs and debris and foam and different things in those areas where there's been a slowing down of the flow. Well, that happens to us as well. So let's come off of your block for a second. Sit on your tushy. Sit with your legs pretty wide. Take your hands behind you and start to move your body. Our body gets stuck just like those parts of the stream where the rocks are. And those rocks in our body are knots in our muscles. They're bone spurs or osteophytes when your body's off alignment. They're food substances if you have immune responses in your body, or if you have a diet that's high in certain things, or if you're dehydrated and your blood is thick and it's not nice and fluid. So the practice of yoga, it's actually a science. And it's a science of unclocking, unblocking, and allowing flow and managing the energy. So allowing our energy to be moving and to not be heavy and slow. And the Kapalabhati breath that we just did is an example of that. So I don't know what you were able to experience, but when I close my eyes and I feel such a big expansion and contraction of my rib cage after I do that breath. I feel that acceleration of the heart. And I feel like I kind of just took the snow globe and shook it up. And I feel stuff moving around in my body. And so Kapalabhati, skull shining breath, a really nice breath to begin the practice. I want to stay in the seated up position because we kind of just did shake up the snow globe. And I want to use those particles, your magic particles, to actually loosen and soften a little bit more. So being open-minded with whatever today's practice has in store for you, we're going to come into a seated position. So I will tell you that for many of you sitting on a block, and if your tushy needs 2 blocks, I would get 2 blocks or a pillow and sit on that and take your blanket over your block. And cross your legs. And sitting here in an elevated position like this, you're going to maybe notice that your spine gets nice and tall. I do think 2 blocks is actually better, or even just the folded up blanket by itself. Depends on, our skeleton. Our bones are not very different, even if we do have extra body stuff, extra stored energy. But I want you to be comfortable because I don't want that to be distracting for you. This will let your knees go a little bit lower. When the knees are up here, it's a sign of tightness in the hips, which is also relatable to tightness in the low back. So come to a position where you are like this. And then I want to start doing a little bit to move and lubricate the body. So we're going to take our hands on our thighs, and I want you to bring your heart forward, open your throat, tilt your pelvis forward so you feel the front edge of your pelvis in the front. Whether if you're on a block, you'll really feel it. And then you're going to come by rocking your pelvis back, pushing the low back, holding onto the legs, straight arms. Don't collapse your chest here. If you have osteoporosis, do not collapse the front bones into themselves because counterindicated. You want to stay off putting pressure on the front of your spine if you have osteoporosis. because that will lead to wedge fractures. And throughout our day, there's already that pressure coming from above. So we're doing a little flexion and extension, opening up the heart, opening up the throat, opening up your body. Lift your ribs, low ribs away from the top pelvis. Feel that stretch in your body. Exhale back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale. Bring yourself all the way up. Stay here. Let's take one hand to the side, one hand up. Ooh, this feels delicious. Now, if you have shoulder issues, you may need to grip your hand here because your shoulder may say, I'm not going to lift up that high. So wherever your blocks, your clogs in your flow are, don't avoid movement. Try to explore what movement is available. Taking stress from yesterday, from 10 years ago, from 20, from 30, from 50 years ago, out of your body is still available to you. So if you did something in your 20s where there was a lot of wear and tear, a lot of muscular tears, a lot of calcifications, bone spurs, and things like that in your body, we still have the opportunity to explore clearing up where we're clogged. This right here is good for low back health, stretching the low back muscles, the core, the waist, lateral flexion, side bending, also squeezing back and forth over your discs. So the stress of standing and sitting puts stress in one angle in your body. Now we're moving your spine to take some of that stress of this morning, yesterday, 10 years ago, 20, 50, out of your body. And bring yourself back to center, and then come over to one side, stay there. Bend that elbow that's on the ground, and open up your body here. So don't let your body collapse. You're not forward. Really open up. Look and see that you could see the sky right above that arm in the air to make sure you're pushing that arm back. And then if you need to turn your head down towards the ground, if the neck doesn't like this, just feel the stretch wherever you feel the stretch. And then bring yourself back up. Let's go to the other side. Stretch your body glove, stretch your tissue, stretch what you live in, your home. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself all the way up. Take your arms, shake your arms. Take your hands right here on the lower ribs. Palms are up towards the sky. Elbows are in at your waist. Exhale. Inhale. Let your head, it's not just about the head, it's this torso that's moving. Your hands are here. And then bring yourself back. I want you to visualize that you have little lights on your fingertips. And as you inhale to the other side, the lights are moving. Let it be about your lights. Come back to center. This is what 80% of spinal rotation occurs right here where the low ribs meet the low back. Bring yourself back to center. You're going to inhale because the nervous system, when we inhale, is what can stimulate the sympathetic branch of the nervous system. So managing stress, managing the nervous system stimulation. So when you inhale, that's your body and your mind saying, is everything safe? And you bring yourself with the exhale to yes, everything is safe. So as you inhale, looking around as far as you can, let your head go a little farther, stretching the part of you that's on the lookout for safety, which has been ingrained in you from grandmother, grandfather, from the beginning of time, since your people were in caves. And then bring yourself back to center. Those of you that lived, that helped us be here today. Shake your limbs. That was rotation, lateral flexion, flexion and extension. Let's do Sufi grinds. So take your legs straight for a second. We might need to unclog the knees and the hips here to allow flow to come back down to the feet. So we intentionally clog sometimes to then unclog. And when we bend our limbs, that's part of what happens. Take your legs a little wider here. And do this, and then take your hands up here in your hip joint. So your hips are not here. Your hips are right here. And this is the part of your hip joint where most of the weight bearing is the anterior, the front section of your hip. This is also when we do our plank poses. This is we strengthen this area. And we want strong hip joints. And bring your feet forward. Let's point one foot, flex the other, and then switch, point and flex. So now feel that calf area, the back of your legs stretching. Feel the front of your feet active when you pull. This is going to activate the shins. Clearing calves, heels. And then I want you to come back. Bring your leg like you're going to come into a crisscross leg position. And notice which leg came in first and switch. Take the other leg and come into your crisscross. It might feel a little weird because it's not your natural way of being. Take your hands on your thighs. Let's inhale forward, open up the throat, bring yourself forward, and then push yourself over to a side. Push yourself back, over to the other side. Open your throat, open your chest, inhale forward. Exhale back. Kind of a little bit challenging when you're on a block. Inhale forward, close your eyes, exhale back. Challenging on the block because now balance becomes a part of this if you're only on one block. Definitely better to do this on a bolster or 2 blocks if you have that accessible, or on the folded blanket. Let's do one more circle. And then bring yourself back to center. Get nice and tall. Keep your eyes closed if you can. Exhale. Inhale forward. And exhale to go around. With the eyes closed, can you feel the middle part of your body right by the lower ribs, the diaphragm, the low back, the core muscles? One more circle. And bringing yourself back to center, let's get nice and tall. Now we're going to take our legs. I want you to stretch your legs pretty wide. I'm going to turn to the side here. Okay, so stretch your legs pretty wide and bring your hands in front of you. Flex your feet. You can wiggle your toes here. Make sure that they all bend. And then take one more breath. And go ahead and bring yourself out. So let's come off of that. And then bring your blanket. Let's take your strap. Bring your hands overhead. And then move towards the back. So if you can do straight arms here, do straight arms. If your shoulders will let you go up and over. Lifting up and back. Really strong chest stretch here. So if you have upper back and neck issues or even low back issues, this is a really great way to stretch the front of the body, which gets tight when you sit a lot and stand a lot, to try to hold your head on top of your torso. Come up, come back, and stay here. Open up your throat. Press your chest forward. Support that back bend, and then reach long. Imagine you're trying to put the strap on a hook that's like right behind you, and you're trying to lift up and put on that hook. Slide your shoulder blades towards each other and down towards your spine, towards the top of your pelvis. Take one more breath. Bring yourself back up to center, and let's do a little lateral side to side here. So go side to side with your strap, side to side. So So a little bit more stretch in the low back waist. So for those with low back issues, doing the seated work that we did, doing the Sufi grinds to warm up the muscles, and then going pretty deep here, using a strap to go a little bit deeper in your lateral chain, your side body, can be relieving for low back. Take this strap off to the side. Let's come on to all fours. Take your hands really, really wide and take your legs really wide. And then let's move around in our joints, in our shoulders and our hips. So push your whole body side to side. Push your fingertips into the floor. So you distribute the weight in the hands, so it's not just in the wrists. Then come back to center. Push yourself back and bring yourself forward. Back and forward. And then take your hands forward even more. They could be about the width of your mat. And then you're going to bend your hip joint. So you're going to let your low belly come closer to your top thighs. Come forward and put your head on the floor if you can. And if you can't put your head on the floor, grab the block. And if your head is pretty far from the floor, when you come forward, you can put your head on the block. Let it be the part of your forehead right by the eyebrows that rests on the floor. Arms are long. And continue to push the low belly towards the top of your thighs. And continue to push the heart towards the floor. Forehead touches the floor. Arms are straight. So you want your arms to be straight. You might need to walk them out to the sides a little bit more and forward. Stretching your spine. Let your tailbone point towards the wall behind you. Try to push your pelvis back towards the wall behind you. Heart to the floor, low ribs to the floor, low belly to the top thighs. And do not let your tushy go down to your heels. You don't want to round your spine. You want to lengthen your spine. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself up. Come all the way up for a second. We live in a very forward place in our body, whether that's this posturally, looking down. Everything we do is in front of us, right? Because that's where our eyes are, and that's what we see, what we're doing. So this next thing we're going to do is actually going to strengthen the side of your body. And it's going to strengthen the side of the hip joint, and it's going to strengthen the upper shoulder girdle area. It's called half moon, and this is a variation of a half moon pose. I want to show you before we come into it, and I want to help you get into this because there's some different things to do to get into this. So you will need your block for this. You'll need your block to come onto its highest level. So I'm going to go onto my left side first. If you'd like to do your left side first, if you can't see me, take your body over here if this means this is your left side. Okay, so go wherever you can. So we're going to come to our left side first. You're going to take your hands and walk your hands forward and take your fingers forward. I'm going to say that when I teach this posture in a group, especially if you're newer or haven't done this for a while, it's a challenging posture. It looks easy, but it's not, because it's balancing on the side of your body, which we don't do very often. So it's training your nervous system to handle weight in a different place than it usually does. So the things that are going to help you be successful is bring your block here in front of you. Take your hand pretty far forward. The pointer finger is pointing away, and spread your fingers pretty wide. Then your knees and your feet are on the floor. You're going to pick up your left foot. Your left knee stays on the floor, and you're going to move your left foot off to the side. So this is what it looks like. Okay, your knee still stays there, but you lift your leg, you slide it off to the side. So left leg slides off to the side. Now bring the block even closer. So bring it close to where your pelvis is, and then push into the block, and you're rolling into that left hip joint. Bring yourself up. Put the inner right big toe edge of the foot on the floor. Push your left foot into the floor, push the inner edge of the right foot onto the floor. And you could keep your hands here if you feel unstable, or can you bring your hand up, put your hand on your waist, push your heart forward. So for some people, even being here is a challenge. Push your fingers into the floor, contract your core, push your belly button back towards your spine, and then lift your right leg in the air. Strengthening the right side on this side, balancing on the hip and using the strength of the muscles on the left side. Push your heart forward. If you could put your arm up in the air, lift your arm up in the air. Flex the foot that's in the air. Keep lifting up. Flex your foot. If you could turn your arms over to the side, you could reach your arms up and over. If your fingers, your wrists is bothering you, pop up onto a pentapod, onto the tips of all 5 fingers. Let your weight be mostly in that leg you're on, which is the left leg here. If you keep falling out of it, if you're close to the floor, so I haven't had anybody hurt themselves in this, but I do have a lot of people falling out of this because it's a pretty challenging balance position to be in. Take one more breath. And then to come out, let's come out gracefully, dismount gracefully. No scores are given, but safety is at the utmost concern. Bring yourself up. My journey with my hip issues and then my hip replacement taught me the value of the side body strength and how important that is for balancing on the side and strengthening the side, because it really helps with the integrity of the hip joint for spinal health, for even upper spinal health, whether that's scoliosis or any kind of low back issues. So when we talk about reducing future stress in the body with the physical practice of yoga, side body lateral chain is a pretty big, important part of that. All right, we're gonna go to the other side. And you're gonna bring your block onto the ground. Take your hand on the ground, pointer finger is forward, and allow your joints to receive this, the shoulder joint, the hip joint. That's where the stability is coming from in this posture, is shoulder girdle and pelvic girdle. So let's take your foot and you're going to lift your foot off the floor. Your knee stays on and slide your right foot over to the side. Then you bring the block here because it's really around here that it's part of what's supporting you. You're going to push your belly button to your spine, lift your body up. You start to open your body to the front as you put your foot onto the ground. And here you get a lengthening in this side of your body. So see if you feel that. Hand on the block if you need it, or bring the hand up onto the waist. And then contract your core, push your belly button to your spine, lift your leg up in the air. Hand can come up as well. Push your heart forward so you're allowing that shoulder, the hand you're resting on, to activate in the back of your body. Lengthen your spine. Hand can reach up and over if that's appropriate for you. Really good for strengthening balance too, for fall prevention. Let's take one more breath. And then to slowly come out, you can bring your hand back, bring yourself out, you can bring yourself all the way up. Take your hands, shake your hands. And then take one hand across your body, arms straight, bend your wrist, push your hand towards you. Keep your wrists healthy. And then flex your wrist. Pull your hand towards you. And then let's do the other side. So you're going to take your hand across your body, flex your wrist, push your hand towards you. and then flex. Take your fingers, move your fingers, open your hands, strong, strong, strong stretch, close, open, close. If any of you are feeling anything arthritic in your hands, it's one of the first places where people can really notice arthritis. And I wonder, is it because there's so many joints? There's 27 joints, 27 bones. Is it because there's so many neurons in the hands, in the sensory cortex? Is it because it's far away from the heart and the body doesn't supply these joints as much as it does some of the joints closer to the body? I don't know what all the reasons are, but this can be a really big place where you can start to notice an annoying throbbing or some pain and discomfort. So keep your hands really stretched, tight, stretch tight, and make sure you articulate all your joints in your fingers. Okay, so we're going to strengthen the front of the body, the whole anterior chain, and especially that hip joint, right? Because bending in our hip is a really important aspect of staying healthy forever in our body. Bending forward here. So the integrity and the strength of the hip flexors is important, and the plank posture strengthen the support, the structural muscles of the joints and the whole anterior chain. So we're going to take our block and bring our block like this. We're going to bring the block forward, forward, forward. Bring the elbows underneath the shoulders, knees move back. Lower legs can be on the ground for those of you that need that support of a modification, or you flip your toes under and lift your knees off. Push your heels back, push your hands into the ground, your forearms, your elbows, push your feet, the pinky toes on both sides, and push your heels back. Lengthen yourself from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and allow the pelvis to go onto the ground. Push the heart forward, open the throat. Let your legs be wide here. And then walk your elbows closer to your body. Push your forearms into the floor, push your elbows, and push yourself into the floor, and then lift your rib cage away from the floor. Push the low ribs to the floor, push the heart to the floor, open your throat. Stretch the front of your body here. Take one more breath. Now take your elbows and hold on to your elbows. So you bring your hands and then walk yourself over to your right side. So walk over to the right. Make sure that the left elbow is right underneath the left shoulder and you're over to the right. Now push your hands into the ground and lift yourself up away from the ground. So really push that left elbow into the ground. Feel that left side lifting up and away. And you'll probably feel a stretch on the left side of your body, right by the belly button. This is the top of your psoas muscle. For some of you, you may be able to get a little bit more of a lift, taking your arms straight, pushing away from the floor. Make sure the low back feels okay. So only lift up and away a little bit higher if you have that range of motion in your body. Breathe down to your belly. And then bring yourself down. You take your arms. You're going to walk yourself over to the other side. Let the right elbow be underneath the right shoulder. Push your arms into the ground and lift your torso away from the floor. Feel the stretch at the side of the belly on the right side. Breathe down to your belly. And then if you can get a little more of a lift here, you don't have to do the bigger lift. Take one more breath.
And then bring yourself back to center. So your pelvis is on that blanket. Can you come on to, I'm going to come on to my left side. So if you could come onto your left side, great. And if you can't, that's fine too. I want to stretch the right quadricep. So bend the knee and see if you could take hold of your foot where the ankle is, where the foot becomes a leg and a leg becomes a foot. Or you may be able to grab the back of your shorts or your pants or your socks. And then you're going to push that right hip forward. So if you have the right leg on top, you're going to push this hip joint forward so you unbend the hip. You may feel this over your knees. You may feel this in front of your hip. These are the quadricep muscles, and there's a hip flexor muscle there, rectus femoris. So I want you to see how that feels. Now you're going to come down onto your head if you can. Bring your right knee forward and take your right hand up and come into a stretch on the right side of your body. Try to get the right hand towards touching the floor. You could straighten that right leg if you can, bring it across your body. But this is a deep twist. So I want you to feel what feels appropriate for you. And this is on my right side's on top. So whatever side's on top, you're stretching that side. You may feel this up in the chest shoulder area. You may feel this in the posterior or lateral side of the top hip. But I want you to be long in this. So create space in this waist. Push the pelvis away from the low ribs. You could take your hand on top of that leg. Try to get that upper shoulder blade towards the floor. Hopefully this is a stretched out twist and safe for you all, especially those of you with low back issues. So please close your eyes, be in your body, and let your body guide you on what's okay for you to be doing. Take one more breath. Then you're going to come out of this. We're going to go to the other side. You could roll over to your other side. I'm actually going to switch so I can stay facing you, but you could roll over to your other side. I find that this is a way that we could access the quadricep, and this is a hard muscle to get to, super important for balance, for posture, for alignment, for hip joint health, knee health, and really hard for a lot of us to have access to. So when you're on the side like this, you may have a little bit more access here. So you grab on the front of your foot or the pants or the shorts if you're wearing shorts, or socks if you're wearing socks. And then when you come into it, you want to make sure your leg stays in alignment with your body. It doesn't go forward and it doesn't go up in the air. So try to bring the leg as close as you could get it to coming straight off of that joint. And then push that joint forward to deepen the stretch in the quadricep. Push your heart forward, push your hip forward. I just felt a spinal adjustment in my back, meaning I don't want to say popping, because it didn't feel like it was gas release from the joint. It felt like it was bones moving. So staying limber in your joints is super important. Now we're going to come into the deeper twist in the body. So you're going to come down onto your head. You're going to bring that knee forward, maybe to touch the ground. You're going to bring the opposite arm up and over. And you could actually bring your hand onto that leg if you'd like. This is a super deep stretch for me. And I feel it in different places on different sides because we are asymmetrical beings. And then you could let your leg go longer if that feels appropriate, trying to work that upper shoulder blade towards the ground. Hopefully it feels yummy. Try to create space in that waist. Push that pelvis away from those lower ribs. Push the heart forward, trying to get that upper shoulder blade towards the ground. Twisty, twisty. Take one more breath. And come onto your side for a second. Such a strong stretch, that one, for me, because it's a very lengthened position. And then the low body's going in one direction, the upper body's up here. And the tissue on the side of your body, the lateral chain, like fascia, all the stuff that holds you together, it's really thick. So it's a really deep opening. And there's a lot of lymphatic vessels here. So that's an unblocking and a movement of the lymph, which is part of your immune system when you stretch the side of your body like that, especially all that under armpit area where you have nerves and lymphatic vessels. So really great to do that. Let's take your hand on the ground in front of you. Push yourself to come up. Right, an unblocked, unclogged, limber, strong version of yourself is going to be able to live a happier, pain-free existence, which is going to help you be also better in your relationships with yourself and with those in your life when you don't have pain in your body and you can be a happy camper. All right, block is off to the side. Blanket is up at the top of your mat. We're going to strengthen the back of our body. We did the sides, we did the front. We're going to come down and do some back body work. Let's come all the way down onto the floor. Interesting place to be on your back. So let's get gravity to help with some posture here. Take the blanket behind your head and neck. Dig your elbows into the ground. Lift your ribs up and away from the ground and slide your shoulder blades underneath. So the shoulder blades are underneath your back. Take your hands on the lower ribs, right where we practice a lot of breathing techniques. Bringing our awareness to right here. Close your eyes. Breathe into your palms. Feel your ribs expand up and out. Now breathe in and back to the floor. See if you can feel the lower ribs pressing into the floor. Then go ahead. Bring your arms out to the side in a scarecrow position. So let the upper arm bones be as high as your shoulders will let them go. If you have shoulder issues, you might be a little bit lower, but if you have no issues in your arms, try to bring your arms up pretty high. Take your feet so that your Soles of your feet are on the ground. The heels are on the mat and the toes are off. Exhale, push your belly button to your spine. Inhale, let your legs go to the right. Slowly. Exhale, push your belly button to your spine to bring your legs back up to center. Inhale, let your legs go to the left. Exhale, belly button to spine to come back to center. Go slow. You'll do deeper work, more advanced work if you go slow. Inhale, close your eyes. Exhale, back to center. Inhale to the left. Close your eyes. Do this slowly with breath and feel where you feel the stretching happening. And notice if you feel it the same in both sides, same area. The next time your legs come to the left, let them stay there. Let the head go to the right. Lift the right arm straight and away from you, diagonally. So try to let the right fingertips still touch the floor, but reach out the right wrist and then reach the right knee long away from you. So push the front right hip up towards the sky. Stretch your body here. And breathe down into your right hip joint, right waist. Right low back. And then exhale, bring yourself back to center. Bring yourself all the way up. Push your belly button to your spine. Slowly let your legs go over to the right. Let yourself arrive. Let your head go to the left. Left fingernails touch the ground as you reach out the left heel of the hand. Push the left knee forward and left hip up towards the sky. Take one more breath. Bring yourself back to center. Bring your feet back to center. The blanket could be underneath your head. Have it pretty low, so a really small fold of the blanket. And then walk your feet away from you. Walk your feet away. Take out your fingers underneath your mat. So the fingers are underneath the mat, the thumbs are on top. Lift your pelvis up for a second, put it down. And then pull your hands down towards your feet, and then let release. Hands go down towards the feet. So you activate the arms pulling down towards the feet. You're going to feel your low back moving towards the floor. You're going to feel your pelvis do a little rocking action as you lengthen your spine. And then take your hands off. That's always nice and relieving for the low back. And we just came out of twisting. And the counter position of a twist is to come into relief in the low back. So back bend, typically, we're going to actually go through that now, the bridges. Take your hands down alongside your body. Press your feet into the floor. Exhale. Inhale, lift your pelvis off. Let your head go to the left. Let your right hand come up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, head to the right, arm up and over. Exhale, down. So you're going to feel your feet are away from your legs, or feet are away from your tushy. You're going to feel a lot of back leg work. And if you're somebody who cramps, go slow. Push your toes into the floor so you distribute the muscular action in more parts of your legs, not just into your hamstrings. Working the back of the body. Keep your head stationary, nose pointing up towards the sky. Bring both arms up. Push your feet into the floor. A lot of leg work here. This is lower body work, lower back body. And then bring yourself down. Walk your feet in. Take your legs up towards the sky. Put your feet down. Squeeze your tushy, flatten your low back, push your low back into the ground, and then push your feet into the floor. Lift just your pelvis away from the floor. So your low back doesn't come too far away. It comes away, but the rib cage pretty much stays on the ground. And then push your left foot into the floor, lift your right leg up. You can either let your right leg hover or lift your right leg all the way up if you feel strong enough to do that. Maybe not yet. Maybe you need to let your leg hover or hover here. So whatever's appropriate for you. Don't let the pelvis tilt. Take one more breath and then put that foot onto the floor. Push both feet into the floor. Feel the activation at the back of your body and then lift the other leg off the floor, wherever it's appropriate for you. Here, here, or all the way up. And then bend the leg. Bring your feet down. Bring your body down. Take your block. Bring your block between your knees. Move your blanket away from the back of your head. Lift your head up, lengthen the back of your neck. Your arms are bent alongside your body. Press your arms into the ground. Slide your shoulder blades towards each other. Walk your heels as close as you can get them to your tushy. For some of you, you could actually touch your heels here because they're so close to your tushy. Push your hands into the ground. Squeeze the block, flatten the low back, feel the top edge of your pelvis touch the floor, and then peel your spine up and away from the floor. Push your legs into the ground or your feet into the ground, push your arms into the ground, lift yourself up. Get a nice back bend in the upper spine, push the heart up towards the nose, push your arms into the ground, your legs into the ground, squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy, lengthen your knees away from you. Bridge. Take one more breath. And then slowly bring yourself down, one vertebra at a time. Take your block out, bring your blanket back. Draw the knees into the chest. And then hold on from up above, straight down onto the kneecaps. Straight onto them. Fingertips are moving down towards your toes. Arms are straight. Do a little jiggle, 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 and let your legs go. I mean, holding them up there. Let your hands, so squeeze your hands, squeeze your kneecaps, hold on to your knees. Inhale. As you exhale, slowly draw the knees in towards the chest. Feel the low back press against the floor. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, knees to chest. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, knees to chest. Inhale. Exhale. Draw the knees in, hands come to the side. Side to side. Let's put your right foot down, take your left leg, bring the strap onto the left foot. Hold on to your strap, wrap your hands around, keep your right leg bent, and then draw the left leg towards the wall behind you. Keep the legs straight at first for a couple of breaths. Feel a lot of intensity there. Hopefully you feel something where the tushy cheek is, where the leg attaches to the body. That means you're pulling on the pelvic bone, creating a little bone building stimulation, stronger pelvis. And then bend the knee a little bit, the left knee a little bit, and pull the leg back a little bit more. Now you'll feel it in the belly of the muscle, which is right in the middle of that back hamstring area. Draw the leg towards the wall behind you. And then bring yourself up. Pull the strap, keep your kneecap pointing towards the wall behind you. Try to bend the elbow and stretch the elbow. Sorry. Try to stretch the ankle. Knee is pointing behind you. The leg doesn't move, it's just the ankle joint. And then bend the knee. Bring this right foot up, put the strap on the right foot. Straight leg, left knee is bent. Draw the leg towards the wall behind you. And then put a bend in that knee. Draw the leg a little deeper. Feel how that goes to the different part of your hamstrings. And then bring yourself up to center. The ankle joint, kneecap is pointing back towards the wall. Leg is not moving, only the ankle is bending side to side. And then strap off. Bring the knees into the chest. Today's practice was to reduce the stress of aging and the stress of gravity and the stress of sitting and standing and the stress of living. And there is a lot of stress in life because that's actually how things get stronger and become more resilient. And we have to learn how to manage it in our body, in our mind, in our soul, in ourselves. Take your arms and legs in the air, let everything settle. So we're snow globes. We just shook our snow globes. Our particles are flying around everywhere. And now we're going to let them settle. So you're going to come into the Shavasana pose, the final rest position. Any way that is appropriate for you to come into that, do any final moves you need. And come into the dust particles settling in your snow globe, letting your pieces settle. Begin to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bring your knees into your chest. Hold on to your knees, rock side to side. And then rock onto your side. And push yourself up to a seated position.
And in your seated position, close your eyes. Bring your hands together and press your thumbs into your heart and your heart to your thumbs. Helps to activate the support muscles of the trunk to help hold you in this position. And then notice your body, notice sensations, your low back, your hips, your knees, your upper back, your neck, your head. We're going to close with sound, the humming vibrational sound. That's going to help to vibrate your water of your snow globe and let your dust settle even more. Let's take a big exhale to create space. A deep inhale. We bow in gratitude, in recognition of us from one snow globe to the other. Namaste. So today's practice was management of the stress of the passage of time. Let's call it aging. Let's call it the passage of time. Keeping our body nice and limber and healthy so we could live and do everything we want to do forever. Because that's important. All right. Well, happy 2022 to you and you and you. Audio scrambled. All right. Yeah, I've got lots of people in this house. I don't know. And my internet is terrible. Oh, Lynn, you know what? Somebody else had trouble with sound on the television in class. Oh, You know, Joanne, there's a lot of stuff that could be heavy. I try to moderate what I share with you guys. But in actuality, it should eventually be super light. Because we realize that just like articulating wisdom in words can be such a challenge. We realize who we really are, what we really are, and how this is all a game. And I don't mean a game in a facetious way, because there's a lot of heaviness, right? The people in our lives, that to me, that's the hardest part, is all the people in my lives, especially family, I mean, and them and their journey and what's going on in their lives and managing that. Sometimes I just feel like I just want to sit and listen to, or I don't want to say meditate, but meditate. Just sit and be one with the bees or one with the trees or whatever, and just not get caught up in all the stuff. And I guess that's what it is. There's a reprieve in the moments, that if we stay in our moments, there can be more moments of reprieve and peace than we realize. And it's when we sit in the heaviness of all of the not pleasant things, you know, the energy that's good and the energy that's not good, the energy that's heavy, the energy that's light. I guess that's what I would say, is that when we're sitting in our minds in yesterday or tomorrow, there's more chance for suffering. And when we're in the present moment, there could be more present moments of peace and lightness than we realize. And that's what this practice teaches me. So hope that makes sense. You're welcome, Michael. You're welcome, Chachi. Okay, yeah. Someone had trouble with her computer and her TV. I don't ever watch things on the TV through my computer or iPad. Okay, so interesting. Why would it be one thing versus the other? Because somebody had trouble with the TV connection. So I looked up and shared a YouTube link with her on how to figure it out. So as my 92-and-a-half-year-old father will say, Google it. Whenever we're asking questions, he goes, ask Google. And he's Scottish, so he has an accent. Why don't you just ask Google about it? I'm like, no, Dad, I want to use my brain. I want to like challenge myself and try to figure it out before I Google everything. All right. Anyway, I'm off and running to be with my family all day to get ready to entertain. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you next week. All right. Bye.